Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Always a delight to have Dr. Joel Klein in the studio with us today, and he's with Ventana Wellness, and today we're going to demood you. Well, we're going to try. No, the question is, do you admit that you have mood swings, or do we have to talk to the people around you to find out if you have mood swings?
A little bit of both.
Really?
Well, the guys, I think, usually have to ask the wives because they're kind of oblivious.
Okay.
The wives will certainly know.
So men will go introverted, women will go extroverted?
As usual, men will go into the cave, and the women will keep trying to drag them out, going, talk to me.
Well, mood swings are real, aren't they?
Well, it's not just mood swings. I mean, part of the issue is obviously there's more chronic, low-grade mood issues, and there are swings. When we're dealing with swings, or even not only by day to day or during the day or even week to week, there are a number of physical factors. I mean, yes, of course, there are psychological and the spiritual issue, but there are also some significant physical factors that will affect our mood, our nutritional status, our level of activity and exercise, and hormone status will all significantly affect mood.
All right. Let me just say to our viewers, listeners, by the way, if you want to join the conversation, have at it. Here he is, the doc's in the house, and the phone number is 541-776-5368, or toll free wherever you're listening or watching, 800-373-5368. Dr. Joel Klein here to take your calls, and if you want to remain anonymous, we'll respect that as well. All right, so you're saying that there are various causes to mood swings, and yes, there's the emotional and there's the spiritual. You know what's interesting? Because sometimes people get their identity by their mood swings.
We get our identity by all kinds of different things, and some people don't want certain things taken away. It's part of who they are. But again, what we're looking for are things that are out of character.
All right.
What things that people really, God, I'm not acting like myself. This is not who I am. Yes, there are, and I'm probably one of them I've been swinging probably my entire life. But there are people who's like, no, this is very out of character for me, and they feel out of control with it. And most of the time, those are going to be related to a number of these physical factors.
Okay. Now, let's just take them one at a time. Okay. Where does eating come into this? Where does intake come into this?
Nutritional status play a big role. Obviously, all of these brain chemicals, these neurotransmitters that we talk about, people are very familiar with serotonin. Some people have heard of dopamine, GABA, acetylcholine, all come from our diet, and particularly from amino acids and what kind of quality protein we're eating and how well we're digesting protein. And then all of those amino acids, all of those nutrients require the right vitamin cofactors to be metabolized into these neurotransmitters. So nutritional status, and again, our old bugaboo, the high processed food, high carbohydrate diet, will definitely play a role. Deficiencies in things like folic acid have been shown to play a role in depression as well.
Do people, you said earlier that you begin to realize yourself something's out of balance. Is that common for people?
Usually people, again, depending on how self-aware they are and what they're focusing on. I think, again, men, just as a rule, are usually focused on who cares how you feel, get the job done. I'm obviously overgeneralizing there, but we're not as focused on that. We're focused on what needs to happen, and we're focusing on that. And obviously women will notice, but sometimes it can be subtle things that the person themselves doesn't notice, and yes, the partner will notice.
Okay, so are we talking depression? Are we talking bursts of anger? Are we talking crying? Jay?
All of it, because a lot of times depression will show up as anger. I think that's also anger and irritability. Chronic anger and irritability are commonly signs of depression. You don't have to go into the crying spells as well. Anxiety that seems to come in waves. I've had patients. I had one patient who would actually become suicidal for an hour and a half, and it would blow over.
Really?
And this turned out this was a blood sugar issue for her. And when her blood sugar dropped, obviously that's quite a dramatic presentation, but for her, that was a big part of it, because obviously you don't just become suicidal for an hour and a half and have it blow over if there are these deeper issues.
But still serious.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sure. And obviously very disconcerting to the person experiencing it.
Yeah. Are you seeing more of it in your practice these days, anxiety issues?
I don't know about more. I think it's you know, for just the past 30 years, it's always been a huge factor, and the psychological factors certainly there. I guess I'm seeing more of it than I used to maybe 20, 30 years ago in younger people. You know, people even in their 20s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so let's dissect this. If somebody is experiencing it, they're just not in control of themselves. They know something emotionally or anxiety or something's out of whack. What should they begin to do here?
Well, there are a number of issues you need to look at. You know, if you know your diet needs improving, if you're eating a lot of
sugar,
not, you know, we're not getting enough of the right nutrients. Level of physical activity, huge role. The studies showing that regular exercise improves depression are so convincing that the National Health Service in Britain, their socialized medicine system, your doctor can write you an exercise prescription for depression, and your insurance will cover a 6-month membership to a health club with a trainer for an exercise program.
Whoa.
Rather than just give you the, you know, here's your...
So the link is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, is that aerobic or weightlifting or what?
A little bit of both, but certainly the regular aerobic exercise. Strength training also helps. We get into this hormonal link and functional, what we would call functional adrenal insufficiency, not real Addison's disease, and that will relate to the blood sugar swings. And the weight training also helps with that, but particularly the aerobic, we get into these endorphin levels getting up over time. That makes a big role, but not so it's so strenuous that you're exhausted after. It's enough that people feel good and energized from it.
You know, and I think that's a key. I have found the hard way, going to the gym all these years, that I can pretty much get my routine done in 45 minutes. I just don't have to stay there for hours after hours.
God, absolutely not. Yeah. No, and I think there are a lot of people, younger people in particular, that I see over-exercising, and they're exhausted because they're actually burning themselves out from it. No, you really don't. I mean, 45 minutes is great. I mean, 20 to 30 minutes on a regular basis has been shown to be a significant improvement.
And there's that point where you're moving fat to muscle. You could actually gain weight in that period.
Well, you're building muscle while you're losing fat. One does not necessarily get directly
you're not
converted.
Moving. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, building muscle.
Well, you're going to be. You may gain some weight. Usually, if the number on the scale is not changing or moving in the wrong direction, what you still notice is your clothes fit differently.
Yeah.
So literally, the body composition changes so that people will notice, even though the number on the scale is not budging. But my clothes are looser, so you know something beneficial is happening.
All right, so where does sleep come into this picture?
Sleep, huge. Obviously, we're all sleep deprived. We're not regenerating the brain chemicals, these things at night. So chronic sleep deprivation, whether it's through just not getting enough or disturbed sleep, certainly people with sleep apnea, depression is a very common manifestation of that. So this is really the ultimate mind-body problem, because it encompasses all of it. And the trick is there's not the same percentage of things that'll go for each person. So in some person, yes, it may be the fact that they're unhappy in their job or their relationship. Somebody else, it may be that they're not sleeping as well. And these things also then will contribute to hormonal imbalances, which then make everything worse. So you can really wind up in a very vicious cycle in that the lifestyle issues, the stress issues will drag the hormones down. The hormones being low will even add to the depression. And yes, like I said, you wind up in a very vicious cycle.
All right, let me just say, if you want to join us, it's 541-776-5368 or toll free 800-373-5368. Dr. Joel Klein with us for a couple of segments here talking about mood swing. Is this considered a disorder?
It depends. You know, if we get into where it's really depression, mood swings, not necessarily, and obviously the most famous would be in menopausal hot flashes, mood swings, but men with low testosterone will have anxiety and depression problems. I see that very commonly. The whole disorder thing quite frankly, it's
overrated.
Well, it's what I'll put down so that the insurance company will pay for the visit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to be truthful about that as to what, because you need a diagnosis. But I don't like to stick the diagnosis labels. These are descriptions that we've invented for things, and then after we make up the label, then we decide that this is now a real thing, rather than, well, we made up a label to describe this. So I think the problem is it can be helpful, but it can also be harmful in sticking people with labels that I think are unnecessary.
All right. As we go into the break, is this compounded for women when they go through the change?
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge part of the whole problem. And the menopausal issues, the major even part of that is the fact that if we have been spending our whole lives being stressed, so that by the time you're 50, you don't have a lot of reserve left. And then again, it's the adrenal glands that make both your stress and sex hormones. And once the ovaries stop making hormones, except for a little bit of testosterone, if you don't have any adrenal reserve left, your body has to choose. And the stress hormones take precedence because they're necessary for survival. The sex hormones are nice for quality of life, but not essential. And so we wind up having to choose, and the sex hormone levels fluctuate, and that plays an absolutely huge role. This is the main reason, in my experience, the nutritional factors play a role there too, why women wind up needing menopausal hormone replacement.
All right, Dr. Joel Klein's with us, and if you want to join us about all this, feel free, 541-776-5368, or toll free, 1-800-373-5368, and check out ventanawellness.com, and you'll find a lot of resources there. We'll be right back. Okay, we're talking about moods today, and Dr. Joel Klein's with us from Ventana Wellness, and it's a great resource for you. The website is, and the clinic, ventanawellness.com. You might want to check it out. And if you want to join the conversation, you have any questions about this, you're welcome to do it. Our phone number is 541-776-5368, or toll free, 800-373-5368. And the whole issue of moods is really interesting. Are men or women more vulnerable than the other when it comes to mood issues?
Good question. Maybe I would say both, but again, the men tend to be quieter and tend to go into the cave and or go into what was there was a Dr. Terrence Real wrote a book about covert male depression, and the title of the book was "I Don't Want to Talk About It." So again, we express it differently. So it's maybe more obvious in one than another. With men, it's the, whether it's the withdrawing, the more introversion, because men with depression, a lot of times the common theme is leave me alone, don't bother me.
Yeah, I get that.
I can speak from great experience with this. So yes.
Okay. It seems like we're living in a more anxiety-packed culture.
Sure.
It just seems to be ratcheting up worse and worse. And you can't watch the news without coming away either being angry, upset, or something.
I know. So the question is, how much should we really be watching the news?
Well, turn it off. Yeah.
How much, of the things that that really matter in our lives that we can really do something about?
Are we managing our intake these days?
I don't think so. I think we're overloaded. And again, I've said this probably on the show before. I think this is really a manifestation of what Alvin Toffler called future shock, where the accelerating pace of the growth of technology is outstripping our biological ability to adapt to it, constantly putting us in this state of fear of anticipation of the future.
Really?
Because we can't keep up.
Yeah, because I just saw some surveys over the weekend where the millennials are saying, we don't have any hope for the future. We don't think we're going to live like our parents did. I mean, how is that for an outlook?
And we're telling them that too. This is the first generation. I mean, so if things keep going the way they're going, that would be true. The millennial generation may have to take it upon itself they will have the power themselves as they're coming into it to stop this. Yeah. There's a popular song, John Mayer has this song called "Waiting for the World to Change." Well, don't wait.
Yeah.
No, you may need to create your own and say, we inherited this, but that doesn't mean that we're stuck with it, and we can create a different reality out of what we've been given.
Boy, that fits into a whole nother topic.
Sure, you guys will work on
we look at this generational science, and you can see it happening.
Right.
All right. So you got exercise, sleep, and the big one here is hormones.
Hormones play, yes. Huge role.
How do people just say, well, this hormone thing, that's another big issue. I don't even know if I need to be tested. What would you say to that?
It all needs to be put into context. If people are dealing with issues of mood, depression, fatigue, in particular, the disturbed sleep patterns. The problem is I'm seeing hormone issues in younger and younger people too, like guys in their 30s. Typically don't see the women because, well, their hormonal imbalances show up differently with disturbances in the menstrual cycle and all of these other types of issues. But if somebody's in their 40s or later, it's worth looking into. Absolutely. And then you can make some decisions. I won't say that everyone needs to be on hormone therapy. No. But it's one factor that can be looked at and try to develop, again, this holistic mind-body picture. What are the biggest factors affecting you here? Is it sleep? Is it your activity? Is it your work or your relationship? Are there severe hormonal issues that, maybe we need to deal with these, because if we don't, we're always going to be playing catch up and we just don't know how it's going to go. There's not a hard and fast, okay, everybody gets this program. It's one that needs to be tailored with the patient, and then you continue to monitor. Okay, how are you doing? What's happening with this? Because it's certainly not an exact science by any means, and you may have to keep adjusting or even completely re-examining your treatment.
How safe is hormone treatment?
Well, this is a big issue that's coming out now too. They recently did this study that did show increased all-cause mortality in men on testosterone therapy. I'm not sure how much that means. Again, there are these statistical studies, and they'll look at men taking testosterone, men that aren't. They'll try to be controlling for all these other factors. And people just have to be aware when you hear significant. Anytime you hear significant, it means statistically significant. What you and I would judge as significant, I think sometimes is another story when I look at this, that there's a statistically significant interest. So I think that's a question that was interesting about whether it's cancer or this or that. So there are questions about it. Certainly with women, the biggest issue has been, and this is a whole nother topic, the women that had more breast cancer and more heart attacks in the big study were the women taking horse-derived estrogen with artificial progesterone.
Oh, wow.
And the artificial progesterones have been found more and more. They do not act like real progesterone in many different ways. And it was interesting, the women who had just taken the horse estrogen didn't get more breast cancer and did not get more heart attacks. And looking at up to 80,000 women on progesterone therapy, there was no increased cancer. So how much can we really say about that? I think there's some definite debatable issues. I don't think they're for everybody. I don't think everybody should be on hormones till they're 100 and they'll live to be 120 like some people are espousing. But they clearly make a difference in people's quality of life when they're suffering.
How do you know when somebody should seek help from mood issues?
Well, they need to look for themselves. If this is really affecting the quality of their life, the quality of their relationship, the functioning at their work, this is a time to start looking at, this is really interfering. And again, sometimes it may be the spouse that needs to insist because the person themselves says, well, I don't think it's that bad. And the spouse has to say, well, yeah, it is. So then it's affecting the quality of your relationship. And it's, again, worth exploring if it's creating a problem at that level.
Now, the first thing you do as a physician to get the big picture is you take a lot of blood tests.
The first thing I do is talk to the person.
Okay.
I want to get the picture.
Well, that's kind of noble.
I was taught as a freshman medical student, the history is 90% of the diagnosis, and that is still true. Wow. So I want to get my best indication of what's the picture going on here. Can't always do that in a single initial visit. And yes, I will check the hormones. I will check metabolic issues. Nutritional status is a little bit tougher because regular blood tests don't show that very well, except for some rare things like a significant vitamin B12 deficiency that can cause depression or even dementia in older people. Those are more obvious. The more subtle ones are more difficult. But there are some people who develop some very elegant systems, even some questionnaires that we can look at whether look like you're deficient in serotonin or dopamine, these things, and GABA, the things that go along with anxiety and depression. But I do the best. I don't have a set formula. Oh, boom, we do this. I want to get a picture of the whole story. Yes, we want to look at hormones. We want to look at all the metabolic issues, and then we want to try to put together what's that person's best treatment plan based on the factors that seem to be affecting them.
Is weight gain or loss sometimes a mood issue?
It more can be. And it can be the hormonal issue. So weight gain, we're commonly dealing with thyroid, although also with disrupted cortisol from chronic stress. So people have chronic stress and they have the opposite of what they're supposed to have. So cortisol is low in the morning and they're tired when they get up in the morning, yet they're wired or they can't sleep at night. High cortisol at night will cause your muscle to break down into the amino acids, which are then converted into sugar and fat around the belly. So that can be a weight gain issue. Weight loss, if it's not a hormonal, and there are only a few causes like hyperthyroidism and these things, will commonly, that's when you're getting into certain people with more severe depression. It can go either way because some people will eat more, some people will lose their appetite and not eat at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, the mood thing is, I think from a spiritual side and the counseling side, we're seeing more and more anxiety.
Sure.
At all levels. And I think it's cultural, a lot of contributors to it. But it's just amazing to me how many people are wretched up. They're just tighter now.
And one big part of it, I think, is also our loss of connection to nature and the world. See, we're living in this man-created environment, not in the God-created environment, which tends to be balancing for people. I'm out there every weekend, up in the woods or the mountains or doing something. That's where I get my balance,
I think, you're right. I think we locked in, we become products of concrete.
Right. Concrete and metal and electronics. And how much does all the electromagnetic stuff affect it? Some people are very sensitive to electromagnetic input. And if you have a lot of, mechanical stuff and all that, some people's nervous systems, I think, can be more sensitive to that.
All right. So let's put the stethoscope, so to speak, on our moods. We want to check our exercise program, how well our quality of sleep is. Are we having rush with hormones, and what our diet is? Am I hitting it?
I think that would be the big four there. And we want to look at all of them and see which slices of the pie, it's a pie diagram, and if for that person, which ones are the major slices that we should work at first, the major contributors, and start with those.
Where does hydration come into this? Is it a factor at all?
I think it's a factor. I don't ascribe to the fact that, everybody's dehydrated, so they need to be drinking a gallon of water a day. I think that's one of the things that can play a role, but I wouldn't look at it as for my first one. Usually if there are other factors that are going to be involved if hydration is in there.
All right. The other thing that we're learning is that the job market's got people really stressed.
Right.
Now, some of this is just they need to be de-stressed.
Right.
That's easier said than done.
Easier said than done, and that I will leave to your discussions on the psycho-spiritual side of, even in the hardest circumstances, where can we surrender? Where can we find what the teaching is? Where's the bright spot? What am I supposed to be getting out of this?
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dr. Klein, interesting. And if people want to get more, he's with Ventana Wellness, and that's ventanawellness.com on the website. And of course, you can look it up there. They got a great clinic and services here in Medford, and he's always available. I guess you're still taking new patients?
Oh, of course.
Are you?
I'm about a month booked out now, but yeah.
That's okay. Get on the swing there.
Yep.
All right. So check out your exercise. Are you doing any? That's the first thing. If you're not doing anything, I probably almost would start there. You can certainly take a look at your diet. There's no question about that. And then, are you sleeping well at night? I have no problem. I can sleep anywhere. Anywhere, anytime, any position.
That can be good or bad.
I'm fine with that. Okay, and hormones, have that all checked out. Thanks, Joel.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Always a pleasure.